evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios in downtown Jackson for our weekly Sizzling in Mississippi show. A black woman and a white man at the crossroads, just kind of hammering things out and trying to tell you all what's going on in this state. How do you say it, Maati? It don't ever change, do it?
Nope. Status quo, status quo.
How are you this evening, beautiful lady?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How about you?
I was just telling Maati before we started the show, she's so fortunate. You know, I told her I really didn't feel like I was looking very good tonight, and she said, "Tell me about it." I said, "God, my gosh, a woman like you, she put on a burlap bag and be looking just fine."
Thank you.
So anyway, but here we are for another Monday night. We got a list of things, Maati,
Yes.
that we've put together for tonight, and is there any particular place you want to start at?
Why don't we take a look at what's trending? And right now, what's trending is something that happened at Walmart on Highway 18 in Jackson. And that was on the 17th of January when we were in the middle of that cold snap where we were below freezing. It was just a terrible time.
Right.
Well, a woman walked into Walmart with her child, and the baby was wearing only a diaper.
Right.
No socks, no shoes, no pants, no coat, no shirt, just a diaper.
Hurt your heart.
Hurts my heart completely. She put the child in the grocery cart, but in the part where you put the cargo, right?
Yeah.
And she went to the frozen food section and started putting frozen food in that area of the child,
Sure.
where the child, the ice cold frozen food on the legs of the child. Thank goodness there were people there. Other shoppers gathered. A woman bought the child a sweatshirt and sweatpants and socks, and everybody chipped in. And the most important thing they did was they called the authorities. She was arrested, and her child was taken away from her to be given in the custody of a relative of hers, and she was arrested for child neglect.
Yeah.
This child was only 2 years of age. After the shoppers had clothed the child was still shivering. His lip was quivering. He was shaking. He was so cold.
And the mom was not 18. The
No.
mom was 26, they said.
26. There's no excuse. I'm thankful that she went to the Walmart on 18, because I don't know if other places there would have been that much care brought, for the child. I think in other places people might have looked at her and said, stereotype.
18 over by the one right by the Route 20 intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there many times.
Yeah. 80 and 20, Highway 80 and 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, over there. And yeah, and like you said, and Interstate 20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a place that's been nicknamed Black Walmart because 99% of its customers are black. But I'm so glad that the people there stepped in.
Right.
And the police came and they arrested her right on the spot.
And then
APT.
I saw reports from all of them, and the lady, the employee that actually confronted the mother,
yes,
ended up getting fired after.
Right, and what she did was she filmed the woman.
Yeah.
While she was there, so that here's your evidence of what is going on. This child is being abused and neglected. Thank God she did that. But Walmart turned around and fired this employee.
Says something about a code of conduct.
Well, I don't know. There's a higher code of conduct.
I was just thinking.
Whatever they have in their book, this supersedes it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you think so or not, Walmart, shame on you.
Yeah.
I would love for people to call that Walmart. It's Walmart in Jackson, the only Walmart in Jackson proper, and call and just say, you don't have to know the employee's name. I don't know the employee's name. And call and say, shame on you, rehire her.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And she should find an attorney because she should sue them.
She did the right thing.
Yes, whistleblower.
And, you know, it's not like this isn't happening in other places. Of course, it's happening in other places. But, you know, it just, we just can't seem to catch a break. We have more stuff going on and stuff like this right here. You know, there's people out there in Mississippi that will use this to point fingers at black people.
Right. Oh, yes.
Or poor people,
Yes.
or what have you.
Right.
And-
Single
and-
mothers.
Or single mothers. And,
Right.
you know, and that's just the thing. It's just you can't ever find a straightaway to move forward progress. Somebody always throws a curve out there, a distraction, something like that. It
Yeah.
messes us up.
It really does. And this is just, I mean, it's horrific. You know?
said it's viral now.
Yes, it is. In fact, it became viral, and then the news services picked it up. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you tell they kind of take from each other because it seemed like every single report from the 3 local broadcasts were pretty much identical.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's revolting. But I want people to know that when you see a child or anyone suffering, but especially a vulnerable person, you know, do something about it.
And you know, Maati, you know, there may be people that would criticize me for saying this. But obviously there's some level of sickness there. I mean, you've lost the boundaries of what's the basics of right and wrong.
Yes.
When you're doing something like that, because a child's supposed to be the highest priority.
Right.
And so, you know, hopefully the legal system, and I don't know what kind of representation she'll get or whatever, but hopefully she'll get somebody, and hopefully there can be some type of services or something. I was so happy to hear that the child's not in a home of strangers. The child is with they called it an unapproved relative.
Yes. Yes.
So somebody in the family's measuring up and meeting muster with CPS, or they wouldn't have turned the child over.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all good news. So the child's going to be okay, but hopefully the mom can get what she needs, and it just hurts your heart.
Yeah, it's just really horrible. The mother obviously has some type of mental deficiency, if nothing else. Spiritual deficiency as well. But she needs help. She also needs punishment and correction. And that child, thank God, has a place to go. And I just pray that the child will be safe and cared for and loved.
Opening up the lens a little bit, when people do things that are just wrong, regardless of their station in life,
right?
Do they all need correction? Do they all need to repent in some way?
Well, I think we all do when we really veer off the straight and narrow path. We need correction.
I was asking Maati because, one of the other stories that we have tonight is, this state auditor. He must be surely your favorite state auditor.
He's my only, so.
Shadrach.
Yeah.
Shadrach White.
Yeah.
I read a 19-page court filing. This is the Mississippi Department of Human Services against Brett Favre.
Yes.
This TANF funds that were stolen, misappropriated, misspent. People come up with all kinds of words for that, but of course he claimed he didn't know nothing about where that money came from. But
at the same time, he texted Phil Bryant to cover himself. Yeah.
and Reeves, I believe.
Yes.
And now you're getting checks to give speeches for this Mississippi Community Education Center.
Yes.
And he never made any connection at all with that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. Brett Favre never spoke. He was in with the former governor, Phil Bryant.
So he returned. Go ahead.
And then of course he's aligned to the current governor, Tate Reeves.
And his brother.
And he gave a certain amount of the money back, but he didn't give all of the money back. And now Mississippi State University has a new indoor volleyball building that came right from those TANF monies that was earmarked for poor women. I don't understand why anybody's taking that money for speaking fees anyway. What does it have to do with providing for the very poor women?
And then the speaking things, that was separate from this 7.1 that they're going at. He already repaid that.
Okay.
I think there was an issue, maybe some of the interest didn't get repaid. But the thing is, and in this filing, since you mentioned the volleyball court,
sure.
In this filing, they said that his daughter don't play indoor volleyball; she played beach volleyball.
Okay.
So anyway, but back to the state auditor Shadrach White.
Yes.
A young MAGA Republican kind of guy,
Right.
Christian, nice family and everything. This is the one that gave us the report on fatherhood. He wanted to tell Mississippi how to remedy the fatherless. Can you believe it?
Wow.
He looked just like me, skinny as a beanpole,
Mm-hmm.
short guy. You got to look closely, you miss him.
Okay.
And he wrote that long report about. And his solution to that was ROTC. Mandate the ROTC because the people that complete those programs graduate high school, don't get married the next day, stuff like that, or don't get or have a tendency, more of a tendency to get married or be employed, stuff like that. So and then he also is an author of another report about state institutions not having certain courses. We've talked about this on the show before.
Yes, right. He wants to dictate the curriculum.
Yeah, like he don't want to see courses being taught in Mississippi with taxpayer funds.
Right.
On anthropology was the example that they used.
Yes, and Black history.
Or whatever, right.
Right.
And he wants to dismantle any DEI initiatives that are going on.
Yes, yeah.
Because after all, we know that the playing field is always level. So there's no need for any diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, in America, let alone Mississippi.
Right. Yeah, he's done that. He doesn't believe in a liberal arts curriculum.
No.
Right.
Needs to be directly tied. In his mind, it needs to be directly tied.
Yes.
Which brings up the question, by the way, of his law school diploma.
Okay.
From Harvard.
Okay.
Do you know that being an attorney is not a requirement of the job to be state auditor?
Right.
So isn't he getting himself a little juxtaposed to his own lecturing? He now, I don't know who paid for that law degree.
Right.
But that's a primary degree.
Yes.
That is not required for his job.
Right. He's an auditor.
So what up with that?
Right.
So see, he's telling people they don't need to take, like you said, courses in Black history or urban studies, or
women's
anthropology,
studies,
women's studies,
anthropology,
because they're not directly, in his mind, they're not directly related to a profession that Mississippi needs to move forward.
But Mississippi needs people who have majored in liberal arts categories.
Of course.
We need an expansion of intellect and scholarship.
No. Not according to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and him, you got to see that. You got to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna
Well,
work.
it's time to take the knuckles off of the ground.
You need to. You need to invite him down to Fair Street.
Yes.
You ever seen him down there?
No, I have not.
Me neither.
Yeah. I haven't seen any Republicans on Fair Street.
Yeah, so just wanting to let you know about this state auditor. Now, he claims to be the one that broke this scandal, this welfare scandal, 2.5 years ago, but the scandal actually started several years before that. And kind of sits on high and everything, but he's now got 3 sets of attorneys at taxpayer expense, according to this document that I read this morning, this filing, document number 689, the 689th filing in this particular case.
Wow.
Mississippi Human Services against Brett Favre,
Yeah.
7.1 million. And not only so it supposes that it appears that he's delaying using 3 different sets of attorneys, their schedules, his schedule.
Yeah.
I got no time to give a deposition.
Yes.
The auditor that claims credit for breaking it, breaking the story, got no time to give a deposition in the largest fraud case in the state history.
Wow.
Help me, Lord.
Please.
It's
This is nuts.
just as hypocritical as the day is long.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you before about correction and repentance.
Yeah.
Because some of the deeds that get done around here
Yes.
by these white people in positions, let's face it, there's very few black people in high
Right.
elected office.
Right.
High state level, high.
Sure. Absolutely.
And certainly not statewide.
Right.
And the state of Mississippi, for our listeners, is a minimum of 38% minority population, but there's only 6 people, 6 minorities, if you will, that are heads of agencies in the state of Mississippi. 6.
Yeah.
So 94% of the positions are taken by people that look just like me.
Yeah. True.
And so
So,
what does it take to get correction?
One thing, they could correctly count the number of black people in Mississippi. They could start there.
It'd be more than 38%.
It would be a lot more than 38%. That's one thing
Right.
they can do. The other thing is that they can, wherever money is allocated, it should go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 things.
Well, as we get ready to head out at the end of our first segment, I just wanted to share that, and the other thing too, they have attorneys at the auditor's office, but this guy needs 3 sets
Right, yeah,
of private attorneys.
right.
Now, who's paying for that?
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, taxpayers.
For the guy that broke the case to not get locked into a specific date and time
Yeah.
to give a deposition years after it happened,
Yeah,
but claims credit for being the guy that broke the case.
yeah.
Sizzling in Mississippi.
Politics as usual.
So we're going to dip out for a couple of commercials. We got our Cracker Jack producer Purtis on the ones and twos back there, and then after the commercials, we'll be right back with you.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
The Mississippi Link is an African American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you're joining us tonight for another edition of Sizzling in Mississippi. Chris Young alongside Maati, Joan Primm, just trying to chop this up for you and let you see what we have going on down here in Mississippi. You know, I remember Maati, and I know I maybe said this more than once on this show, that expression, people don't change because they see the light. People change because they feel the heat.
Right.
You buy that?
Oh, yes.
So maybe in our own way, maybe this show can help produce some of that thermal viscosity.
Okay.
You know,
yes.
It's these people just don't want to change.
Right. No, they refuse.
You know, that another story we've shared with the audience last week and in the past more than one occasion about the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and last week they had an en banc hearing to review the Mississippi's felony disenfranchisement. Now, to be honest about it, there's 9 or 10 other states that also do this lifetime ban on voting for felons.
Yes.
So you do the crime, you get convicted, you do the time, fulfill the requirements.
Yes.
You're a free person once again.
Right.
But you can't vote.
Right.
So,
not quite free.
well, I mean, in America, right? This
Right.
isn't this foundational? Isn't this the?
Right. It is, which should allow them to, a former felon who has turned their life around. It should allow them the right to vote again.
The most predominant tool of citizenship
Yeah.
in a democracy,
Right.
the right to vote.
Right.
And I listened to the not when it was going on, but shortly thereafter, I listened to the tape, an hour and 4 minutes total. I think it was. They 30 minutes aside.
Sure.
And Maati, I can't tell you, what it was like to hear basically the Solicitor General for Mississippi, Lynn Fitch, is the Attorney General's top lawyer,
Sure.
saying that in this 1890 Constitution that Mississippi operates under, this was not intended to be punitive.
What was it intended?
It's just part of a valuation system of the state. You want to know, in order to vote, you want to know who somebody is and where they live and this, that. It's just an item on a checklist.
Okay.
It was never intended to be punitive. That's what this Solicitor General for this hospitality state told all of those attorneys. I think some 17 attorneys listening. I mean, judges rather.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Yeah. I don't know how they could agree with him. He may be able to say that, but I don't know how this court would view this as non-punitive. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And the attorney for the plaintiffs trying to bring about the change,
Right.
talked about the history of the United States and where this was much, much more common. But over the last 30 or more years,
Right.
there's been a clear trend to
Right.
get rid of this type of behavior.
Right.
Because everybody knows it's punitive.
Right.
but Mississippi is going to fight to the end.
Right.
Now, you've given insight to us before on why that is.
Well, because the majority of the people in question, if they regain their voting rights, they're more likely to vote Democrat than Republican.
They said
Enough to turn
200,000?
Yes, enough people to turn everything around. Mississippi would be in danger of becoming a blue state if former felons were given the right to vote.
It would be instantly blue at the next governor's election.
Navy blue. Yeah. Yeah.
So now that decision is in the hands of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. You know, a lot of people have different comments about, their beliefs about what will happen. I thought there were some very interesting questions that seemed to make sense. Judge Graves, one of our local judges from here, James Graves, he was the one right out the gate, jumped on the punitive aspect,
Okay.
Other judges asked questions. Some people said that more information was needed. And some people said that somebody opened up a line of questioning that was a setup to punt the ball, saying that, look, this is a legislative. This is not a judicial issue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so what can we expect? Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And the Fifth Circuit is obviously considered a very conservative circuit. By some estimates, the second or third most conservative in the country.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. So that was last week, I think, on Tuesday. And here we are almost a week later. No ruling, no decision yet. But who knows? Maybe we get a decision tonight. Maybe we get a decision 3 months from now. We just don't know.
Yes, yes.
But critically important that people know that.
Right.
And while all that's going on, Maati, look at these numbers from this poll that was taken.
Yes.
By Millsaps. I didn't get the number of how many people participated in the poll. I didn't get that number. But Millsaps College polled citizens about the subject of restoring felon voting rights. And get ready for this. Put all the different categories together, and 74% of the poll respondents believe that voting rights should be restored when the sentence is complete. And on some level, I found that a little shocking.
Yes.
That it was that high.
Right, right.
But in this now, and we go to the referendum, right? Putting referendums on the ballot.
Right.
Man, if they put something like that on the ballot, that'd be a done deal.
It would be so. It's not going to go on the ballot. Yeah.
So a very 26.4% of the poll respondents said it ought to stay the way it is, and the felons ought to not vote unless pardoned by the governor.
Right.
So everybody else, approximately 74%, felt different about that. They know it's backward. They know it's wrong.
Right.
They grew up here, and you do the crime, you do the time, and that's that. But in Mississippi, the punishment, you get more punishment after the punishment.
Right. It's ongoing, and it's a life sentence of being disenfranchised politically. Yeah.
There's another story that we got on the list for tonight, having to do with and Maati and I have shared with you on many occasions about these takeovers that are come our way here. These always white. Always white people trying to take over Jackson. They try to take over the schools. They try to take over the water and sewer system. They try to take over the airport.
Yeah.
And they try to take over the
schools, airport, and water.
I thought there was one more. I'm forgetting.
Isn't that enough?
Isn't that enough? She says. Yeah. And the economic engines of a city,
Yeah.
and especially this city, that's what they go after. That's what they go after. And the Fifth Circuit Court is also hearing the airport case, which is, we've told you before, six plus years old. They're also hearing that en banc, a large gathering of all the justices to listen to it. But remember when they were, this most recent attempt to take over the water, this senator from DeSoto, way up in the northwestern corner of the state,
Yes.
David Parker, trying to steal, and he was talking about how, we're citizens of the state, and my daughter is a taxpayer here in Jackson, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And
Yeah.
well, lo and behold, somebody pointed out that his daughter lives in an apartment that's owned by UMMC.
Yes.
UMMC don't pay taxes,
Right. University of Mississippi Medical Center.
and so the data was pulled from the Mississippi Department of Revenue
Uh-huh.
that compares the city of Jackson with 10 other cities from around the state. Certainly in our area, but around the state. Well, I'm sorry. It is more to this region, the ones on the list.
Okay.
Brandon, Byram, Canton, Clinton, Flowood, Gluckstadt, Madison, Pearl, Richland, and Ridgeland. And every one of these cities that's all around Jackson
Right.
pays a substantially lower tax rate, millage rate on three taxes. The county is a lower rate, the school district is a lower rate, and the city itself is a lower rate. How about that?
Right. Yeah.
And yet they're always coming, and we have all these state buildings. There's no tax paid on that,
Right.
and property of the state.
Right.
They're not going to pay tax on it.
Right.
And then you get white flight and God knows other things over time, and have brought this city down to, we now have routinely declining population every year.
Yes. Yes.
When I first came here a little less than 3 years ago, Maati, I remember hearing all the time 185, 188, 189
Right. Oh, yes.
thousand.
1,000 people. Yes.
Now we're hearing people talk in the 150s.
Yes. Yes.
So we have this black city, predominantly black city. Though a lot of white people have fled, some black people have fled, but hordes and hordes of people come here for jobs, to take the income, but then they take it back with them when they go home.
Right.
A lot of those are state jobs, and I would love to see the percentage, Joni, but my gut tells me that the overwhelming percent of the people that come in here for the jobs are white people,
Right. They are.
and the tax base just gets eroded, and yet all these other cities
Right.
where a lot of these people that work here live,
Yes.
they get to pay less.
Yes, they're subsidized by the city of Jackson. And Jackson suffers while its suburbs are flourishing. Then you have someone from DeSoto County, which is really suburban Memphis.
Yes.
Yeah.
What, 15 miles from Memphis?
Yeah.
Less.
Less. Yeah. It's no time at all.
And they want to. Do you think that those people are actually have the glaring arrogance to do that of their own volition, or do you think that they're proxies of the Republican establishment? When somebody like that, for what is it, 150, 175 miles away from Jackson, and they put in a bill to take over the water system?
Right.
You think they're a proxy, or you think they're just arrogant, or both?
I think they're both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, this is the poorest state in the nation.
Right.
And Mississippi has, Jackson, Mississippi, the state capital, has a very high poverty rate, much higher than the state average, which is questionable from what I see on the census, and also has a very large percentage of homeless people. And the tax base is just depleted.
It is.
And yet the takeover attempts continue. It's a surefire way to cripple the city.
Yes.
And then of course they'll build it back with their own leadership.
Right. Oh,
They
yeah.
despise black leadership.
They do, and people have often said to me, "Well, if we had white leadership here, then the governor would, release the monies." And I said, "Yes, he would, but you wouldn't be staying here."
Right.
Yeah, and neither would I. They would move us out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we might as well stay here and do what we can where we are.
The last story that we had for tonight. The last story we had for tonight is the surplus, the grand surplus that we've been, 47% plus of the Mississippi state budget this year on the revenue side comes from the federal government. 47% plus. Without the federal government subsidizing the state of Mississippi, the state would be bankrupt.
Right.
Yet here we are giving away these incentives for these projects that are coming to Mississippi, they got to partly come here because of the incentives being provided.
Sure.
So I think last week we talked about it as being bribery to lure a company like Steel Dynamics,
Right.
headquartered in Fort Wayne,
Right.
to come to make an aluminum plant
Yes.
in Columbus, Mississippi, north and east, in Lowndes County.
Yes.
$247 million of taxpayer money
Yeah.
to get them to come in, to get them to sign the paper.
Yeah.
And then more recently, that was last legislative session. Then this legislative session, the EV battery plant in Marshall County, right there, right next to Lowndes County, right very close to it, and right next to DeSoto County that we were talking about earlier. $350 million
Yeah.
taxpayer money.
Yeah.
And then lastly, just last week, all the hoopla about Amazon Web Services data centers going into Madison County.
Yes.
Maati, Madison County, from everything that I've learned and now seen documented on websites,
Yes.
it's the wealthiest county in Mississippi,
Yes.
the highest earning county in Mississippi.
Right. And now they're getting more.
Of the $259 million for this Amazon Web Services data centers, 215 of the 259 is proposed to be loaned
Yes.
to the county of Madison
Yeah.
so that they can build out the water and sewer.
Right. They'll have to do that for that manufacturing plant of that size.
You put all this together, Maati, we talk about these $2 billion surplus, $3 billion surplus, $4 billion. You put that all together, that is 0.85 billion of $1 billion, $856 million, just in 3 projects right there.
How is that? Yeah. And then there's no money otherwise.
And the second largest amount going to a loan for the wealthiest county in the state. Do you hear anything in here about the Delta?
No.
Do you hear anything in here about Jackson or Hinds County?
No.
Do we not have the capacity here to be, and the brain power here to be able to run data centers? Come on.
Yeah. It's a horror. It really is. People talk about other places being corrupt, but this is something on a whole other level.
Stacker.com says Madison, which is really, how long would you estimate, maybe You get into Madison County in 15 or 20 minutes from Jackson.
From downtown.
From downtown.
But from the city
County
limit.
line.
Yeah, county
there.
line. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah. So very,
you
very
got-
close.
yeah.
Very, very close to the city of Jackson. But two different worlds.
Right.
The wealthiest and predominantly white county versus one of the poorest counties. But yet Mississippi revenue, of Mississippi's gross domestic product, 29% of it comes from the Jackson Metro.
Yeah.
But they don't want to give us any economic engines to help us. They want to give them to outlying communities.
Right. And even when we get allocations, they're not received.
Remember, right before the governor's election in November, the governor, sensing the blue wave being created through Brendan Presley,
Yes.
at the last minute threw out a bone on the hospitals,
Yes.
$250 million.
Yeah.
Right before the election, going to convince people that he not turn his back on Mississippi hospitals.
And indeed he is.
$250 million to be spread out among, what was it, like 13 or 14 hospitals.
Yes.
And yet, every one of these projects is more than that.
Yes.
When we have when we have a healthcare posture in the state that's just crumbling, and we have the highest preventable death rate per the health officer, the highest preventable death rate in the nation, but yet we're giving taxpayer money to Steel Dynamics, a conglomerate of EV battery makers, and Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
It's things like this is why we're sizzling
Right.
in Mississippi.
Right.
Maati, we're being out of time here. Do you got anything you want to share with the people?
Well, we're coming to the end of January.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Which means we're coming to the beginning of February, and I'm looking forward to that, as I always do every year, because that will be Black History Month.
A national holiday that the state of Mississippi does not celebrate.
Right.
Yeah.
But the state of Mississippi celebrates Confederate History Month of April.
Right.
Yes.
So we need to get busy and bring some guests in. What do you say?
Okay. Let's do it.
Can we bring that man that I see at the store? I'm blanking out on his name right now.
Okay.
You know what I mean.
I
He's a really good guy.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we could bring him.
I will indeed seek him
I think
out.
he listens to our show.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Well, that's it for tonight, folks. We thank you so much for tuning in. We thank the studio and the producer for making this all happen. You can always view us on YouTube, on Facebook, and on WeBelieveDigital.com. Take good care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you back next Monday night, the first Monday night in Black History Month, for another edition of Sizzling in Mississippi.